Oh, hey guys. So here's the story. I was gonna make something completely different for this week's video, but I have to say that this week at work was, kind of ridiculous. It was a lot. So I wasn't feeling super inspired to make a video at all. But then as I was scrolling through my Facebook memories, I came across a memory of my grandmother. When I was in college, she had made me some blueberry pierogies to go in my lunch for that week. And I was just so touched that she had thought of me and made me those blueberry pierogies that I posted about on Facebook. That got me to thinking, it's been a long time since I've had a blueberry pierogi. And a lot of people out there probably only think of pierogies with something savory like potato or cheese. But I'm here to show you that you can definitely make pierogies that are sweet. Today on The Blue Wizard Cooks. All right guys, so before we get rocking with the recipe, I just wanted to take this time to remind you that if you like this video and you would like to help my channel to grow, please make sure to go and hit the subscribe button down below as well as the little bell for notifications so that this way you get notified every time that I post a new video and it helps my channel to grow. Also, don't forget that I am sharing this recipe with you and you don't have to scramble to write down all of the ingredients and instructions because all of my recipes are always posted on my website, bluewizardfood.com, and the link for this specific recipe is down below in that description box. Well, anyway, kids, let's make some magic. All right, so now I have all of my ingredients in their place. So I have everything I need, where I need it, and when I need it. Now to start off, I just wanted to mention that the pierogi dough that I'm about to make, even though we're making a sweet pierogi, that does not mean that you can't use this dough for savory pierogies. In fact, this is the same dough that I use and my grandmother uses for savory pierogies. And if you'd like me to show you a recipe for some savory pierogies, like potato pierogies, then just let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, let's get started. So inside of a large bowl, I have 5 cups of all-purpose flour. And to that, I am going to add in 2 eggs. Woo! Already a flour explosion, kids. You guys know that I am notorious for my flour explosions. All right, 2 eggs. I'm also going to add in 1/4 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt. Now, in the original recipe that my grandmother uses, she uses sour cream. I've started using non-fat Greek yogurt as a substitute for sour cream in all of my recipes, but if you'd like to still use the sour cream, go ahead. I also need to add in 2 teaspoons of salt, and I use kosher salt, and 1 tablespoon of oil. That's a neutral, flavorless oil, like canola or vegetable oil. So all I'm gonna do is take a fork and I'm just gonna start whisking these liquid ingredients in together in the little well that I made with my dry ingredients. And you might be saying to yourself, that doesn't look like it's gonna be enough liquid. And you're right. We're gonna start adding in a little bit of cool water to the mixture. This is 1 cup of cool water. And I'm not gonna add it all in at once. I'm just gonna add in a little bit at a time because I might not necessarily need it all, depending on the type of flour you're using or depending on the time of the year, how humid it is outside, all that sort of stuff. So we're gonna use up to 1 cup, but maybe not the full cup. We'll see. I'm probably gonna add in about half of it to start, and then we'll start working in the flour. All right, and you'll notice that my mixture is getting super, super thick right now. So I'm starting to get beyond the use of my fork. It's time to go in with my favorite tools, my hands. So just gonna start working all the flour in to those liquid ingredients. Well, I guess I could explain what a pierogi is for any of you out there who've never made a pierogi before, have never seen one. So a pierogi is basically like the Polish or Eastern European version of a stuffed dumpling, like you might get in a lot of Asian places. I'm trying to think of other places that have like a stuffed dumpling of some sort, but a lot of cultures have them. And so in Eastern Europe, we call them pierogis. So basically, you're making sort of like a pasta dough and you stuff it with anything that you like. A lot of times people in this area like to stuff it, like I said, with potatoes or with cheese, but you can really stuff it with anything that you want. including the blueberries that we're gonna stuff it with today. As I'm working this, I notice that I've got a lot of dry ingredients at the bottom of this bowl. So I have to start adding in some of the rest of my water, trying to make this so that it's nice and cohesive. Add probably about another half of the half that I have left. I guess that's a quarter. Guys, it's getting there. Y'all, I think that we are there. We have a single mass. A little bit shaggy, but that's okay. But this is not done. Those of you who've made pasta before know that pasta requires a lot of kneading, and so do pierogies. So I'm gonna take it out of this bowl, move this off to the side, and I'm gonna start kneading it on the counter. And I'm gonna knead this until I get a nice smooth ball of dough, and that when I press on it, it springs back. All right, guys, so I've been kneading now for about 2 minutes total, and I have a nice smooth dough, and when I hit it, it springs back. Let's see if I can get you a close-up of that. When I hit it, it springs back. All right, so that's our dough done. Now, you can let this sit in the fridge for about an hour if you want to before you start making your pierogies, but you don't have to. Unlike pasta dough, pierogi dough, you do not have to let set before you start making your pierogies. So let's get rocking with that process. So we're gonna take our full dough, and we're not gonna use all of it at once because that would be a lot to roll out all at the same time. So I'm just gonna take and cut this dough ball in half, and we're only gonna work with half at any one time. And I'm also gonna take and cover the remaining half with a tea towel because I don't want the dough to dry out. So I'm gonna work this dough ball into a flat disc to make it a little easier to roll out. And of course, I'm going to flour my surface. And then just with a rolling pin, I'm gonna roll it out to try to get it as thin as I can. We're looking for a little less than 1/8 of an inch thick. Now, incidentally, this process is a lot easier if you did let the dough rest a little bit of time, like an hour at least, because then your gluten has a chance to relax and it doesn't spring back as much, so it doesn't take as long to get out a thin layer of dough. But I'm impatient, as you all know, and so I'm going to roll it out now. All right, fantastic. So that is our dough completely rolled out. You can see that it is no thicker than 1/8 of an inch. All right, and so now we're gonna take and start forming our pierogies. Man, between all of the kneading and the rolling, my forearms are really getting the workout today. So over here, I have a 3-inch cookie cutter. And you don't have to have like an actual cookie cutter or biscuit cutter or anything like that. You could just use a cup that has a 3-inch diameter to it. So I'm just gonna go and start cutting out little 3-inch circles of my dough. And of course, we will re-roll this after we get this first cut done. Waste not, want not. So I'm gonna take all of my little rounds of dough, and we're gonna turn them into pierogi. So to take a round of dough and turn it into a pierogi, all that you have to do is put some filling inside of it. So I'm actually gonna stretch this out just a little bit more, just to get it a little extra thin. And then, like I said, we're gonna be using blueberries today, but you can use whatever you want to. I'm just gonna put a few blueberries in the center of my little pierogi round. Perfect. And since these are a sweet pierogi, I am going to add just a little bit of sugar. Really not much. It's just to get the blueberries a little extra sweetness. Particularly useful if you are making these when blueberries are out of season. All right, and so then all you're gonna do is take and pinch up the center. And you're stretching the dough around the blueberries. So you'll notice that they're kind of popping out and stuff. That's okay, all right? So, because you're gonna end up stretching the dough around all of the blueberries. Now, if you notice, and this is a tip from my grandmother, if you notice that your dough is not sticking together, your first instinct is gonna want to be to grab like some water to try to pinch it closed. But my grandmother says, absolutely never ever do this, okay? And so her advice, if you're having some trouble getting your edges to stick, is to actually dip your fingers into a little bit of flour and press the edges together. All right, so you're not coating the inside with flour, but you are pressing with the flour around the edge. Perfect, and you want to get a nice seal. Now, you can do the different shapes and stuff around. If you want to, you can press with a fork, or you could do like a little crimped edge, but you guys know patience is not one of my virtues. And so I'm probably just going to press them in like this. If you wanted to, you could be extra fancy and like do individual finger presses and make a scalloped edge, which I guess I could do. There you go. All right. And those will become a little bit more prominent when we cook them. But there you go. That's a finished pierogi. And I'm just going to set it off to the side on this little sheet tray over here, maybe coated with a little bit of flour so they don't stick. And yeah, I'm going to start rolling these out, which is going to take a little bit of time, kids. So we're going to cut to when I'm done rolling all of these out, plus all the ones from the other dough ball. So I'll meet you guys back here in a bit. It's a labor of love, kids. All right, guys, so I'm just finishing up filling my final pierogi. It took me a good half hour to get the entire batch done. As I said, guys, this is a real labor of love. It is not hard to do, but it just takes time, which is the reason why I don't really make them very often, simply because I don't really have a lot of time. But that being said, look how gorgeous these look. I mean, come on, guys, look at that. All right, and then now we're gonna take and we're gonna put them to cook in a pot of boiling water that I had started when I started up the second half of the dough. And it sounds like it is boiling now, so let's take it over and get these cooked. So to cook the pierogis, we're going to take and drop them into the boiling water for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we'll remove them from the water and place them onto a sheet pan to cool. You want to make sure to spray the pierogis with a little nonstick spray just so that they don't stick together. We're going to continue to cook them until they're all done, and then we'll throw them into the fridge to chill. All right, so our pierogis are done and they are chilled, and I have to say, guys, they look amazing. They look just like I remember them from my childhood. So now what we have to do is, you could eat these plain just by themselves, but in my family, we like to make a little dipping sauce that goes along with them. Now, inside of this measuring cup is 2 cups of low-fat or non-fat Greek yogurt. And again, this is another sour cream substitute situation, guys. In my family, we would use sour cream normally. And I don't really ever use a recipe for this, but I'm going to get exact measurements for you all today by measuring out my sugar. Normally, we just add sugar until it tastes right, but I'm gonna add in, starting off with probably about 4 tablespoons of sugar, which is about 1/4 cup. And so then I'll mix that in and we'll see how it tastes after that. Definitely could taste the sweet, but it definitely needs a little bit more. So I'm gonna add in another 2 tablespoons, and that should probably do it. That's the stuff, guys. That's the stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna take and dollop a little bit of this on my delicious pierogis. Beautiful. That looks fantastic. And now is the time for my favorite part of the episode, the tasting. So I'm just gonna go in, cut into one of these delicious looking pierogis. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, you can see all the delicious blueberry goodness leaking out. Oh, guys. There's a lot of good memories in that bite. I can taste the sweetness from the blueberries, a little bit of the tanginess and sweetness from the sauce. This just like, for me, this tastes like childhood. It tastes like summer. It's just, I mean, it's beautiful. Fantastic. If you have never tried a sweet pierogi before, I really encourage you guys to go and try this recipe. And you can use blueberries if you want, you can substitute strawberries, any kind of berry that you want to think of. And of course, you can use this same dough to make a savory pierogi as well. Guys, I really hope that you try this recipe. If you liked this video, please don't forget to hit that like button down below. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the little bell for notifications, so this way you're notified every time that I post a new video. Also, don't forget that you can find me when I am not making food videos, hanging out over on both Instagram and Facebook at Joe the Blue Wiz. For this recipe and all of the recipes that I have shown on this channel, as well as a few extra recipes that I post every now and then, make sure to go and check out my website, bluewizardfood.com, or just get the link in the description below this video. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, make sure to leave me a comment down below. I'm pretty good at responding to comments, so if you want to have that nice conversation with me, make sure to go down there and leave that comment. Well, guys, that's all that we have time for here today on the Blue Wizard Cooks. Remember, you don't have to be a professional chef in order to make magic in the kitchen. Bye now.